he blows into a tissue and he's asking.
Oh, you said Sheldon. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, this has to be edited out completely.
What? I said
No, it's fine. It's fine. Like in Sheldon in one of the episodes, he sneezes and he's asking like all these random people, do you think that's dark green or yellow?
Yuck. It's a Big Bang Theory now. Actually, it beginning started off very well and then it went pretty bad, in my opinion.
Yeah, I only liked them for their opening song and that like first season. Uske beyond मुझे Big Bang Theory उतना पसंद नहीं आया.
It was
I
good.
like the
It
first
was
two
fine.
seasons.
I started watching Space Force and that is like a very hard watch for me.
Bye. That is so exhausting.
It is like tiring to watch that. I
Like,
thought it'd
I've
be
watched-
good, but
I just watch it because of Michael, and my God.
I mean, he's the guy who made The Office and Parks and Rec and all. I was like, gotta watch this, and then I was like, oh no, it's not good.
Some jokes just don't work. Like honestly.
There was only I'm just past that episode where they got the monkey to fix the satellite.
No, I'm in general. पहले 15 minute के अंदर I quit that show.
Oh, okay.
Because my policy
I'm on
is
the
that
second episode, and it took me time to get through.
2020 में there are very few things we should actually waste time on, like this podcast. So yeah.
So deep, so deep.
I think Parks and Rec was also similar on the first. Yeah, Parks and Rec was a little bit similar on the first few episodes. You feel like
first season of Parks and Rec wasn't great. It wasn't good. First season, I always skipped through the first season.
But I ended up liking Parks and Rec a lot more in the long run.
Yeah, Parks and Rec because the cast was funny. Yeah, I think it's better than The Office. And overall,
as the season goes on, I have more fond memories and I loved it and enjoyed it a lot more. Office के middle के season अच्छे हैं.
Office के middle के season अच्छे, but when Steve Carell leaves, then it becomes pretty.
I didn't watch it from the time he left. I didn't watch it. I never understood why he left though.
He agreed only 7 years, and maybe there was a payment issue that he probably didn't get paid. He didn't get.
They wouldn't pay him.
Maybe, or also he said he wanted to leave on a high note. But I feel if they threw money at him, he would be like, okay.
And Akash सब तो जैसे नहीं होते. Just saying.
I just want someone to throw money at me for this damn podcast.
But isn't that how isn't that what you do? You Akash, don't you throw money at people for their affection?
Yes. I throw it at you all the time. How is that Harry Potter hoodie going on, Amrit?
There is no, but Akash, तू तो plastic bottles भी बहुत बेचता है आजकल. तू उसके
there is a new development on that, by the way.
Akash, tell our viewers
so
what you think.
The seller put on the parcel, that's why they're charging so much customs tax. They put 75 pounds that it's worth on the slip. Why 75 pounds for a damn bottle? So I think Tanya's dad and Julia's dad are contesting it, and I had to send them the invoice and everything of how much it really cost, and even the guy said this is wrong.
दोनों के पिताजी same ही है, by the way.
Yeah, that's why I said I included Julia's dad.
But Akash,
it's your family dynamic.
कितने पे की bottle के लिए Akash?
I think it was 15 plus shipping.
15 pounds?
$15.
Isn't that a lot for a bottle?
I mean, it's customized as well. It's not a...
Oh, okay. Actually, I don't think it's a lot for a customized bottle.
No, it's not a lot.
Even regular bottle.
I always convert it into Indian INR में convert करता हूँ. I guess probably तुम्हारे लिए वो logic apply नहीं करता. मेरे लिए immediately I went into ये तो
1736.
क्योंकि 500 रुपए में यहाँ पे एक मग में जिस तुम लिख सकते हो MS धोनी I love you करके मिल जाएगा मग यहाँ पे.
Yeah, but that's in India. You have to understand. There's some standards outside India. It's not like. Come on,
there are some standards outside India. इसलिए यहाँ आके तेरा कट रहा है.
Yeah, exactly.
हमारे लोगों के बारे में जितना मजाक उड़ाएगा ना, देख customs duty में तेरा unless a customs officer is drinking, उसका बच्चा उसमें चाय नहीं पी रहा ना, नाम तेरे लव आइलैंड में कोई कस्टम्स का बच्चा पिएगा देख.
Hi everyone and welcome to another episode of the Vele podcast where we discuss about my shipment of bottles to around the world. Yes, very good. As Amrit is trying to make fun of me by unscrewing his bottle of water.
Akash, you want to explain to me kahan ship ki thi bottle?
No, it's fine. That's enough explanation for the audience about this bottle story, which is never going to stop for me. But yes, this is the podcast where 4 friends gather together and talk about 3 to 4 topics of their choice. And
For Akash's love life.
Yes.
Non-existent love life. Yeah.
We should have one of those long silence moments where the people think that something's wrong with their phone.
Yeah, buffering चल रहा है.
Yeah, buffering चल रहा है, and then you go check on their phone and see like, oh, okay, it's okay. It's only these 4 G's.
No, guys, that never.
This might be more interesting.
This is meaningful silence as we ponder why we are doing this in the first place.
Yeah. It's not going to be purposeful. We just either ran out of stuff to say and we don't know how to go on, or whatever. Okay, I'm joined by the usual cast. Arnav.
What?
I'm joined by the usual cast. Arnav, say hi.
Hello.
Amrit. The way I have to say hi, Kevin.
When will you stop doing this?
And I'm your host Akash. And today's topic, if you watched the movie Nayak, which used to be, I'm sure everyone apart from Arnav has watched. Arnav, you haven't watched it, no? You haven't watched it. It used to.
Amrit, you watched it. मुझे लगा कोई नायक में कोई
संजय होगा. टीवी में आती थी ना यार. ये अनिल कपूर एक दिन के लिए वो पीएम बनता है. तो essentially since we have no topics, Kevin is going back to the 2000s to get their plots as our topics. So
was it in 2000s? Was it
2001 की movie है.
This movie used to cover Startler so frequently, and it got like weird. So annoying of this, a crap movie.
इस movie
but I watched it produced.
तूने देखा है best scene है जब वो दूध में नहाता है. मजा आता है. There is this scene जहाँ पे दिखाते हैं कि हम कितना दूध वेस्ट करते हैं, जिसमें अनिल कपूर टशन में दूध में नहा के शुद्ध होके जनता को दिखाता है कि वो कितना मस्त प्रधानमंत्री होगा.
Don't they wash like God के statues and
yeah idols?
हाँ तो वो अनिल कपूर है, भगवान थोड़ा है. बट तुम्हें क्या कहते हैं ये तुमने सोचा है कि कभी हमारे क्वेश्चन होना चाहिए था कि if a journalist who asks questions becomes PM for one day, अगर अर्नब एक दिन के लिए, अर्नब गोस्वामी not अर्नब this one, becomes prime minister for one day, क्या होता?
मैं मेरा पासपोर्ट छोड़ दूंगा फिर. I mean, not like मुझे और कोई citizenship दे रहा है, but still.
Yeah, I was gonna say like तू किधर जाएगा फिर?
फालतू का टशन.
मैंने आगे का सोचा नहीं था कि मैं जाऊंगा कहाँ पे फिर.
But Arnav, how much does the PM job pay? By the way, does anyone know?
मुझे क्यों पूछ रहा है भाई? मेरे चाचा नहीं है वो.
No, it should be something we should know actually. Like the president of US gets paid 400,000.
I mean, अंबानी को पूछ ले, वो बता देगा तेरे को.
I mean, yeah, the question is कि actual पैसा या टेबल के नीचे का कौन सा पैसा?
Okay, so basically the topic is if you were PM in India for one day, assuming that you do not get any opposition and you have supreme authority, what is the one change you would like to bring in the nation?
Wow.
Is it a serious topic or is it a?
I mean, you can do whatever you want. I was going to say unban porn.
मेरे पास answer नहीं है, so it's okay. Yeah, I can. कुछ भी.
Oh, wait. Kevin will probably say something serious. So Akash, you should go first with what you said.
No, I was going to say beef allowed everywhere.
क्या?
What?
Beef.
Beef should be allowed everywhere.
Oh, okay.
Now Kevin, express why for
our podcast is going to be taken down in India.
But it also shows कि why some people should not be made PM for one day ना.
अरे वो मजाक कर रहा है यार.
No, he was very serious. I saw it.
I saw it in his eyes. He was very serious.
Okay, the audience can hear.
But basically, Akash
let's start with you.
I was going to say.
Akash and I cannot be PM because Akash said porn and I said beef.
Yeah, I said remove porn, but mine's good. We have to do something about rapes, so let them watch porn.
Okay, just to clarify one more thing, Akash technically cannot be PM,
No,
right?
no.
उसके पास वो
I
Indian
can't. I
citizen ही
don't
नहीं
have
है.
a. Yeah, I'm not an Indian citizen, so I cannot be PM. So it's gone.
Okay, now we're going into technicalities. As if my Indian citizenship is going to get me PM.
Oh, you
अबे,
never know, Kevin. ना 30
Oh, you
years
don't
down
know.
the line, you
अबे
might become a
इसको
PM.
पहले रेजिडेंट एसोसिएशन का कुछ तो बनने दे, मेंबर बनने दे. उसके बाद जाके ये कुछ सोचे आगे का. कॉलोनी के लोग चप्पल मारेंगे, इसको बनाओ कि पीएम पे तो आगे जाके.
Okay, mine's going to be serious now. The rape numbers are getting too high. Something has to be done about it. So either, what is the current actually legislation on rapes? What's the current punishment? It's not
I
by
think
murder.
convicted 14. No,
It's
I
just
think
convicted for life.
10 life is 14 years, and I think
14
7 to 10
years.
years in cases where they prove 7 to 10 years rigorous imprisonment hota hai, which is the extra harsh one.
In special cases,
And
death penalty भी है.
But that gets
Yeah.
appealed for 8 years. So, and I guess this is, if there's prominent
there's only
media
been-
attention.
There's only been one hanging case that it's led to, right?
अभी
The
निर्भया का हुआ था this year.
Yeah.
निर्भया का happened this year.
Yeah.
तो hanging, and that was 2012 December का case, and 2020 के March में, I believe.
That it got solved, I think.
Solved,
Yeah.
yeah.
Got. But there, yeah. So I was thinking, just
Chala,
make it
8
life.
साल they will live it.
Make it. I was going to say make the change that ruling and make it life. Make it a much stricter punishment, even if it's like a really bad one, then like the Nirbhaya case, then it should be death, I think, because obviously you killed someone.
No, what is your?
I was just going to say stricter punishments on the rape cases in India. That's my thing. I haven't really thought much about it, obviously, but
Okay, I know
mine's
it's
stricter
not a something
let's
which I should laugh
yeah,
on.
इसको transition from him, like what a lukewarm way to come up with a solution.
No, I need to
Kevin,
think
you
a bit
say.
more on the.
हाँ,
ये अपना
तेरा
host है.
on your
In
second
my-
podcast
in my-
you go and think.
Exactly.
No, before we go to Kevin,
could
I
be-
have a question. Before we move on to the second one.
First of all, not be freaking ban Republic TV. Arnav
Okay,
Goswami should not exist in this country in the first place.
all these ones are going to be pretty bad solutions. If the people came here for solutions, we're just not giving it
Nobody
just
came
don't-
here for solutions.
for good opinions. Republic TV.
But on
Arnav
a
first.
serious note, I actually had like two kind of solution things that I wanted to discuss. One was religion-based politics and religion-based agendas is not allowed. Absolutely not allowed. That is one of the major issues currently, in my opinion, because there's a lot of divide in the country because of that. So firstly, that should be removed there. And then I would probably look into the reservation system where my house help, she's actually going through this. So more economic based rather than like reservation should be based on how what is the economic state and your living condition. So you get preference based on that. So essentially, if you're like a very struggling fisherman, rather than looking at like, okay, are you this part of you're this Latin Catholic or you are some other sort of religion or some other caste or something like that, concentrate more on the fact that is your economic state and what place you are from. So certain
Kevin,
places of Bihar, if you're someone who's coming up from that area, you probably have gone through a lot more difficulties in your life than someone who's coming from a poorer background in Bombay. So it's essentially a more comparison of your living situation and your financial situation.
Kevin, what that last I think you said already exists. EWS is something that economically weaker sections का reservation 10% वगैरह है already अभी currently. In all exam forms in
But that
central
has to
law.
be the sole. I think that should be a sole decider. Other than handicap and all is a difference. This should be the sole decider, in my opinion.
Okay, I agree with the EWS part of it.
And maybe like mental situation.
Yeah, I agree with you on that part of it. EWS, economically weaker section वाला जो thing है, which already has been in implementation, has been implemented in India right now. That is quite good. क्योंकि I filled out quite a few government forms, especially जब मेरी wife का applications हुआ है, there is already the EWS option is there. उसका एक certificate तुम्हें लेना होता है based on your वो, and people who are in those poor conditions can actually avail for those reservations. So that's already there. Obviously, the other thing, caste-based reservation भी exist करता है. So I guess,
So अमृत
yeah.
ये जो तूने फर्स्ट वन बोला इकोनॉमिक बेस्ड वो वाला, उसका क्या फंडा है? कहाँ पे अप्लाई करता है ये?
If
So
you
I'm
are
not aware of it.
if you are not covered under any of the quotas of caste-based quotas, but you are actually, you can get a certificate issued that proves that you are economically weaker. There is quota in civil center and state posts में तुम्हारे लिए वो होता है, quota होता है. If you are writing an exam, bank clerical exam या वो जो central और local उसमें है, या local PSC, UPSC कुछ भी लिख रहे हो, उन सब में there is a quota for people who come from EWS section, economically weaker sections.
So even if you belong to any of the minorities or anything, or any particular caste, you can still apply in this quota?
No,
Yeah.
if you somehow happen to be but you are somehow not covered, people who are not covered under the scheme of reservation for SCs, STs, and OBCs, and whose family has gross annual income below rupees 8 lakh are identified as EWS.
Oh, so it's not for the people who are existing, जो उनको already coverage है.
If you are already
some
covered,
system.
okay, then फिर तुम्हें जरूरत क्या होगी ना? If you are not covered and तुम उसमें हो, तुम्हारा क्या तुम्हारा सोर्स ऑफ इनकम ऑल्सो भी उसमें काफी इंपॉर्टेंट होता है, लाइक सैलरी, एग्रीकल्चर, बिजनेस, प्रोफेशन वगैरह. Year of application से पहले तुम्हें वो check करते हैं. Because I pulled up the exact criteria right now. Because when Kevin said it, I was like, that's a good idea, but I believe it already exists. But it exists. But essentially, what it does is it exists alongside the caste-based reservation also. So essentially, the number of seats in general goes down. So, but yeah. Kevin का point is, I think, a very good point. EWS and disability वाले लोगों should be high
you should not have a caste system.
But we have a law for that. Whether it's not being followed, that's a different thing. We have a law for the caste system already, right? But it's not being followed in most places. Isn't it?
Law
There's no
isn't?
to abolish the caste system. Isn't there a law or something like that?
No, obviously, caste system was abolished with our independence.
Exactly. No,
it's
not a law. It's a policy.
That's a different thing.
Reservation for caste system, Akash, exists.
Yeah,
caste
it exists.
System has discrimination on the basis of caste system has been illegal in India.
Illegal, yeah. So I mean, what?
Yeah, but that's a pretty old one. I think what Kevin is talking about is reservation based on the caste system, right? It's a. I don't think there's anything. Yeah. Discrimination का part हट गया था. I don't know.
I'm saying not to do that at all, because you're still creating a difference and you're creating division. So you'd rather just concentrate on the financial and the living state of a person, the mental state of a person, the physical state of a person, etc. The concentration is on the conditions of the person and what they're going through, rather than what they were born into. That is what.
Yeah, because of legally, while it has been gone, the vestiges and practices, because it's a social practice, right? It's something that exists in your mind. Four of us cannot look at each other and just, and on a very serious level, cannot look at each other and say that I am superior to you as a human being, or this person is inferior to me as a human being. That's just, it's a mental construct, right? So while legally, Akash, it has been banned since 1950-ish, I think.
No, but people are still doing it.
Yeah, the practice is a mental thing, right? So what Kevin said is कि reservation उसके base में जो अभी हो रहा है, which is like it would be a great thing. Kevin एक दिन के लिए prime minister होगा और वो हटा दे exam system वगैरह से उस चीज को. But the thing is, our elections are won based on that. So I don't think that's ever.
But there's an interesting point, you know. Even though reservation वो सब है, there's one interesting point which recently, because now we are in अपन उस marriage के age में, so obviously you hear a lot more about people getting married or people wanting to get married. So even like in my extended families or my friends की families या जो भी, I've seen it's a still very prevalent thing कि getting married into your own religion या into your own caste.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, community. I think it still exists quite a lot लोगों के अंदर ही.
Yeah.
Like 100%. I think it's inherited लोगों में.
Because
so I think they want to exploit every single thing possible.
Arnav, everything, even among the highest educated to the least educated, we all wish to be part of some subgroup, some tribal need है हमारा to be part of something. Some people के लिए होता है friend group के अंदर they are very deeply emotionally ingrained. Some people के लिए community बहुत ज़्यादा matter करता है. And when you reach a certain age, you are going to have one addiction or the other.
What
तो
is
मैं
your addiction?
my addiction is यार my family here. I'm married, so obviously I have to choose them. But but it is part of this need to establish one certain tribe. Like honestly, like even Akash, their question, regardless of how funny it is a challenge to understand that your identity is not just what is branded on
I
top of you.
just want to make sure everyone understands. Amrit's not laughing at the question. He's laughing at me because my ill research on the matter.
Yes.
Just sort of point that out, not anything else.
No, but that's the thing, right? It's very crucial to many people. Like Arnav ने बोला उसके society में उसके around हो रहा है. Many people के लिए it's very important to have one sense of an identity. Half the fights that we are seeing right now is because people have mistaken identity of all sorts. Okay, like which identity am I supposed to gravitate towards? When essentially, if you just connect with people as humans, it's quite different. But yeah, Arnav, to अपना answer दे यार.
Oh, wait. I was going to say,
And
I've done some
secondly,
research.
You can't do
So
research. You can't do
the
research in the middle of the podcast.
the laws have been increased and everything. So there's been increase in jail terms in most cases, and they bring in the death penalty for repeat offenses of rape or rape that causes coma. So I'm going to pose it to you. How do you think we can lower? Because just last week there was you hear about new rape cases on the news and everything. So how would you guys combat it? I'm steering it to a different direction, but do you guys think
No, I
there's
mean
any other way?
that's a valid. Yeah, I don't think yeah मेरा इसमें first of all मेरा एक question होने वाला था आकाश के लिए कि first of all do you think death penalty is the answer, right? I mean that was one of my
No,
questions when you
because
mentioned
I agree
about rape.
that
Does
because
it?
since the death penalty has already been there, it's there for repeat offenses though, but they haven't seen any decline in sexual violence
Mm-hmm,
because of that. So I
yeah.
don't know if that's the most effective way
Mm-hmm.
at all. Even though I do think that people who do this do deserve, in a way, death because they
there's no
killed
one
someone as
solution.
well. Yeah. So that's why I'm trying to
Arnav,
think.
I know
What is
humanity values one thing, but if you look into Gulf countries, they are people actually scared of doing the offense. Yes, I don't agree with their ways, absolutely no. For example, Saudi Arabia, I'm sure they are not reporting their cases also, but at the same time, people are also scared of doing it because the repercussions of you doing that offense is incredibly high. So there is some things, some positives in either way. That's it. You cannot have a positive solution. You cannot have a for both the problems. You first, I think, in my opinion, you should have a mix. The repercussions of doing something should be incredibly high. Like it should
yeah?
not be bearable at all. And
Would
at
you
that
say
point, I don't care about humanity concerns and all that is out of the question because you need to
Mm-hmm.
you need to educate your population about it because till today, some of the, for example, Nirbhaya case, the 17-year-old said that he thought because the girl was out of the house at that hour, he had the right to do it. So that is where your underlying that the people think that that guy thought it was normal. And there'll be dozens of people in India or anywhere else in the world who believe the same. So that is your real problem.
do you think like
I
maybe
think
an
मेरे
education on women studies type of thing would help for these people like at a young age or something?
I'm sure. I mean, इसमें वो है ना कि there are so many इसमें angles to it. Like anything positive should have certain impact. But इसमें I think Kevin rightly said right कि इसमें it has to be we cannot at least in country like India यहाँ पे obviously we cannot implement Gulf के laws or वो सब. You cannot just copy
Yeah.
paste laws from one country to another. But yeah, right now the punishment should be highest level क्योंकि India is dealing with that problem. So in short term, definitely punishment should be death penalty या जो भी है whatever life sentence or death penalty, right? And those both are extreme, right? So those should be there regardless. But I don't think India में because डेथ पेनल्टी है या लाइफ सेंटेंसिंग है उससे रेप केसेस रुकने वाले हैं क्योंकि फर्स्ट ऑफ ऑल इवन अमृत वाज सेइंग 2012 में निर्भया केस हैपेंड व्हिच वाज one of
Yeah,
the biggest case because
that's
of all
right.
the attention it got.
And then
got
2020
international
में जाके.
attention. Even then, it went through all the procedures, all the system. It took 8 years to get to the final punishment, right? ठीक है, it's a democratic country, so culprit can apply for each higher court, yeah, all the way up to the president. सब समझ में आता है, but still, it doesn't make sense. Like it takes 8 years to go all the way to that verdict, right? So definitely punishment के बाद भी ये सब हो रहा है. I think one thing which at least again one of the solutions could be, I've seen empowering the local communities, right? Like how to basically वहाँ पे bring the change at a grassroots level. We all talk about big cities और ये सब. I think मुझे लगता है कि once जो disparity बहुत ज़्यादा है अभी, right? In terms of like economic level, also in terms of social level or infrastructure or वो सब. So I think if we somehow we can balance that out, and obviously it's not a 5 years ka solution, it's a very long term solution, but we need to invest more in like education side and infrastructure side, वो सब चीजें at the very grassroots level. I think once the conditions have certain कुछ उसमें parity आ जाएगी, right? I do feel लोगों को exposure मिलता है who are in villages or in smaller communities.
Basically setting a base type of thing, just like
yeah, like the playing ground should be equal for everyone. Right now, playing ground is not equal, and I obviously that doesn't justify कि जो rape कर रहा है he or she is right, but I think उससे क्या होता है, I do feel economic conditions drive lot of वो factors in these things. Economic condition and exposure to education, exposure to good values. I mean, again, good values is a very vague thing, but most of I think once we get that parity somehow, and it's a very long term thing, but I think at least that's what I believe in, and that was one of the things, one of the parts to my answer also. Somehow if we can, if I am a PM one day, first of all, opening more colleges and schools in local communities, right? चाहे आप उसको villages बोलो, कुछ भी बोलो, right? I think that's one thing which I would definitely, that as a PM, if I am one day, I would invest all possible resources in that area. And forget about grassroots level, even right now, India में कितने हैं? If you think about premier institutions, in terms of जो young population in India की who is moving towards college life and working life, it's huge. And as compared to जो अच्छे colleges in India में, there's literally handful of them. So I think investment in terms of resources, in terms of teachers, new teachers, how to actually train the teachers. So if teachers को pay करने से काम नहीं होला, teachers have to be good, they have to be inspiring, they have to motivate the young folks to do something, right? So I think that would be, as a PM, that would be one of my investment. अब वो you increase the GDP of education, वो सब करो, कितना percentage GDP डालते हो उसमें. Numbers, I'm not a policy expert or anything, so I cannot say both. But I think that's one thing which I would heavily invest in at the local communities, grassroots level.
No, do you think certification?
Mm-hmm.
Actually, sorry, Amrit or Arnav might know this better. Do you guys think about certification as well? Because since you brought education into point of view, I know Kerala this is a big problem. A lot of the colleges are not certified. They should not be teaching those things to the people because there is no value to those degrees. And what I noticed was people who come from a very uneducated background, they don't have the knowledge of which college they should be studying in. So they end up being the victims of one of these non-regulated colleges, which is they are available in India. So that was just one to add, like certifying all your colleges would be.
So वो process है, I believe वो process है India में. So there's a thing called deemed universities and वो, right, Amrit? Correct me if I'm wrong. तुझे ज़्यादा पता होगा.
UGC, the University Grants Commission gives access to, is the one that decides which university actually gets certified. The problem is that is majority of the time only the super private universities get that access, and those private universities have very influential backers, and I guess you understand the chain of thought. Smaller places will very rarely get it because they do not have the resources to get it done, and the bigger places will easily get it.
Yeah. So I think because even though अभी भी कितना भी for things like NIT, IITs, we need more of those colleges because वहाँ पे to a very good extent, since those are public universities, वहाँ पे donation से नहीं हो पाता. I mean, I'm sure. I mean, exceptions are always there. मुझे पता नहीं है, but at least मैंने कभी सुना नहीं है कि आप IIT में donation से जा सकते हो. At least I haven't heard of that.
No,
Right? NIT में donation से नहीं जा सकते आप.
नहीं
Right?
जा सकते.
So I think that's one thing. Since those are central universities,
Team.
I think investing
Look
more
at-
in
look
those
at
things.
NIT में कोटा होता है. Guys, NIT में
In
कोटा
Bush-
होता है.
in Bush
Even
quota,
IIT
NRI
में
quota
even
होता है.
IIT में even IIT में भी
No
quota
donation?
होता है. We have reservation system, we have sports quota, we have all those things. So वो सब तो हर जगह, even in IIT में भी है वो.
नहीं,
But a majority part of it is also like, bhai, our civil services have quota in it also. क्या बात कर?
Yeah.
All exams in India have quota, but
No,
quota
let me
is in
correct.
very.
Quota of NRI, as in there is a NRI quota. So when you're talking about like as in funding, like money side, so the more influential people can get in. Yes, they can get in. Not in IIT, but in NIT there is.
Oh, in NIT you can pay to get in. I did not know that at all.
Not pay
No.
to get in, as in there is a NRI quota, non-resident Indian quota.
But you still have to give that exam and be quite high ranked, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. That's I guess what the national law schools में भी होता है. Like I remember Tara saying that there were many kids who were जो national law schools में घुसते हैं, जो बाहर से आए हैं, Muscat वगैरह जो भी है, they would get in that way. But yeah, I'll not continue.
Yeah, I think that would be one of my solutions for investing more into the education side, specifically higher education. क्योंकि अभी भी ऐसा नहीं है कि गांव में स्कूल्स नहीं है, ऐसा कुछ भी नहीं है. फ्री स्कूलिंग भी है, बहुत जगह है ये सब चीजें. बट हाउ टू एक्चुअली बिल्ड ऑन टॉप ऑफ दोस थिंग्स, राइट? एंड हाउ टू एक्चुअली मोटिवेट पीपल. लोगों को ड्रीम दिखानी पड़ती है. आई डोंट थिंक लाइक वो जो एक होप का फैक्टर है कि भाई यू हैव होप, राइट? जस्ट बिकॉज यू आर बोर्न इन अ इकोनॉमिकली लो बैकग्राउंड और इन अ ज्योग्राफिकली वीकर कम्युनिटी, I don't think that should stop people from dreaming big. But that can only happen once they have access to all these basic necessities. So education is one of the things which I mentioned, right? And the second would be health, right? Like basic medical facilities. And I think that should be, I would suggest India, wo birthright hona chahiye sabka. And I think some countries have implemented it. India mein it's not easy to implement these kind of things. Akash, yeah.
So out of the two, which one would you pick, health or, because since it's one, education?
Okay, if I have to pick one, education, because health mein aisa, I mean health mein there are so many things which India is actually good at. One is the cost of healthcare is India mein extremely low as compared to other countries, and that's one thing which India is good at. So I think, but education mein India is overall, at least in my terms, again I don't have the numbers for it, but मुझे लगता है, so I would pick education definitely, investing more in NITs, IITs. IIT का number बढ़ गया है. I think now we have 12 or 14 IITs, I believe. But that's still
But
like that's
still,
nothing.
That's nothing.
That's nothing at all. Even NITs का number बढ़ता है every few years, but that's literally nothing. India has the youngest population in the whole world, Abhi, right? So in order to feed the growing needs, we need the fundamental काफी strong होने पड़ेंगे India के, at least for next 20-30 years. So that would be one of my.
So I had one thing I wanted to ask you. Do you think they should open more IITs and NITs, or do you think they should open more good colleges or regulated
I think good
colleges?
because not everyone's going to be able to get to an IIT college.
Yeah.
A lot of people are not
if-
going to be able to get into an IIT
So,
college.
like a lot of IIT graduates have complained about this, that when they open new IIT colleges, their degree value decreases because they have to go through a very rigorous amount of training, and they were the elite of
That is, then that they should stop complaining about it in the first place.
Yeah.
Considering what other kids are going through, their concerns mean nothing. Other people are
Yeah.
not even getting into a place, and इनको problem इनका degree dilute हो रहा है. You worked
No,
that hard
what
and
I
you
mean-
got into a place. उसका क्या मतलब होता है? That's other people
No,
are not
what I
getting
mean
into
is-
place.
in US, for example, they won't open another Harvard up. They're going to keep it as one Harvard. There's only one Georgia Tech.
Kevin,
नहीं, but Kevin, there's a difference वहाँ पे. Those are not
no,
public
but,
universities, huh?
No, but
These are-
Kevin, no, forget even that it's a public or private thing. That is kind of the problem. Education should not be some sacred hidden vault that only premium access or
Yeah.
even if you do not have natural affinity to education, nobody on earth should be able to deny you the chance to get a good education. Because some people may start off slow, they may not be able to reach, like मान लो यार 17 की age में they may not be able to crack an IIT. Does that mean they do not have access to a good higher education the rest of their life or what? No, absolutely not. So I am one, and if your degree is
you're right.
and if your employment is based solely on the तुम्हारे डिग्री का क्या वैल्यू है, then that itself is also something that we have to change. If an IITian solely advantage over somebody who studies from a local government college is the fact that he's at IIT and the other person has equal or better skill, then I'd rather have the equal or better skill guy than the guy who's like, पर मैं तो IIT में घुसा इतनी मुश्किल से, because you cracked an exam, this other guy actually knows how to do stuff, is my opinion on this. I don't think they should ever. But Kevin's other, Charnav, if you have something else to add, because then I'll jump
No,
in
no.
on.
Continue, yeah.
Because Kevin's other point, I think, is this thing. There is no point in keeping on adding those institutions. We have a lot of colleges. We have a lot of primary schools. We have a lot of secondary schools. And the actual, you want to call it the scam of it, or I do not know, the actual problem is implementation. We have these institutions. Arnav ने अभी बोला कि education sector में there are a lot of schools हर जगह में होते हैं. Yes, there are a lot of buildings, but there is how much education वहाँ पे होता है actually. Because my one thing to change was also going to be education based only. Because I read something like very distressing in आज के editorial में ironically आया कि एक सर्वे होती है, हर साल होती है. It's called the annual status of education report. ठीक है. 26 states and 4 union territories में they contact people and ask them कि आपकी पढ़ाई कैसे चल रही है, आपके बच्चों के पास क्या है. And a distressing thing they found in government schools was that 43% of them only had access to a smartphone. India जैसी country में even if there's a small sample space, can you imagine the number of kids we are talking about? जिनके पास basic access नहीं है last 7 months से, कोरोना जब से start हुआ है. Like it's not, can you, the amount of education that these kids have missed out on. So for me, the number one thing, because I thought the question was ki exactly what to implement, would be ki all government school aided kids in that one day will get access to a smartphone with a data enabled SIM, जिसमें तुम्हें अगर चाहते हो तो पेरेंटल कंट्रोल भी डाल दो, बिकॉज यू नो पेरेंट्स बोलते हैं पता है फोन आ गया तो बहुत गंदा हो जाएगा. लाइक विद पेरेंटल कंट्रोल डालना है तो डाल दो, and ensure that the government recharges it for the rest of their education. बच्चा अगर 5th standard में तो अगले 7 साल के लिए उनके पास वो वाला एक्सेस होना चाहिए अगर वो उसको कोई एजुकेशन में इशू आती है. बिकॉज वी हैव अमेजिंग एप्स. लाइक a solution should be based on what our people actually need. There is an amazing app called ePathshala. Did not exist when I was in school. ePathshala gives class KG to 12th NCRTs complete for free. Okay, that is the beauty. हमारी इस government ने अच्छा app निकाला है. That's a very nice thing. And it's all our NCRTs are available for free online. Like if you have Go. But if you do not have a device, what will you do? So recently हमारे area में Delhi में there's a boy who got admission in Haryana. The entire household has one phone. So the boy who got admission went away. तो उसके छोटे भाई के पास phone नहीं है. This is something that happened last week. So now no, but since everyone else is so technically stupid and everyone has their own super smartphones, सबके पास iPhones है, Samsungs है, सब ये सब बकवास कर रहे हैं. People had to like pool in money to get this kid a phone. So end of the day, सबकी generosity में they ended up coming up with Panasonic का Eluga or something. तो उस बंदे पर 5-6 हजार.
Panasonic makes phones?
Yeah, भाई
I
बहुत
didn't know
phones.
that.
Yeah, Akash, that shows where हमारा
Yeah, exactly.
how we live in a different world altogether, na, than the actual
Completely.
world. So that phone उसके लिए खरीदा, but nobody has the brains to think कि, because I found out about this at the stage where phone आ रहा है तो अब बस अब YouTube आ जाएगा ना, तो I was like YouTube नहीं आएगा जब तक आपके पास data plan नहीं. You need a 4G SIM for that. And asking some poor person to go to a shop and say कि हमें 4G data दे दो. If any of you have been to India, you know that's not going to go in a correct way. They're going to be fleeced out of their mind. So if I am PM for a day, all I know private school के बच्चे ऐसा नहीं है बहुत अमीर होते हैं, but clearly their parents have access to more money, so they may be able to figure it out. Okay, this report came in yesterday or day before. I would highly suggest जिसको जाके पढ़ना है पढ़ लो. It's the annual status of education report 2020. एक NGO करता है इसे, so you can take it with a grain of salt if you want. But 43% kids in our government schools only have access to like इनके पास वो था phone और smartphone access, and 67% ने बोला जिनके पास access है they received everything through WhatsApp के through education material मिल रहा है उनको. ठीक है, उनके अंदर ही. So you can imagine the number of kids who are left out. So as PM for a day, I would highly push for all the kids to have that pre-installed e-Pathshala app, to have parental controls on it. YouTube में ये live streams हैं. Some governments have done it. Tamil Nadu and Kerala have been broadcasting courses and study material on YouTube itself. That's a good move in my opinion. All kids should have free access to it, ad-free access to it. The government can pay for this क्योंकि हमारा education का side fund काफी huge है. And it can even be tied in with the NDRF, that's the disaster relief fund के through भी ले सकते हो, because corona के through missing out on education in my opinion is a disaster. Like it's a disaster to those people, it's a disaster to these kids. So if I have access for one day, I would give all of these kids until they reach college education. They should have access to electronic gadget through which they can access these books, because free books is the number one thing. Books, the beauty of the e-Pathshala app is that बहुत सारी languages में, तो तुम्हारी local language में भी तुम पढ़ सकते हो. You should not spoon feed कि सिर्फ English में और हिंदी में होना चाहिए. अगर आपको local language में पढ़ना है, आप उसमें भी पढ़ सकते हो. Some of our local textbooks are quite good also. ठीक है, तो they should have access to it in that way. They should have access to data which covers the YouTube, or which अगर अभी तक I guess YouTube is the best platform right now, because I guess उसमें तो you can get other tutors also. You can put parental control, because the number one complaint always in these things is कि बच्चा online जाके unsend कर रहा है. तो parental control भी डाल दो, तो the parent can itself self-regulate. कि like अच्छा इतने घंटे के लिए ही है, these are the study hours.
You can easily make a device.
No, Kevin, my point is
you can
making a device, making a custom
only
device
meant for that.
There was this Akash tablets.
Yeah, I was about to say Akash tablets.
Tablets निकल रहे थे, but again the implementation issues with a lot of but the implementation thing with all of that is this, Kevin. हमारे इतने बच्चे हैं, उनके लिए उतने tailor made device बनाना बहुत मुश्किल है. Use the capital market that's out there. There is us. You know who, if nothing else, one thing reaches all Indian villages. Amazon और Flipkart के लोग पहुंच जाते हैं. ठीक है. एंड सबको आधार कार्ड वगैरह और राशन कार्ड से सिंक करवा के हमने वो कर रखा है. तो हमारे गवर्नमेंट एडेड स्कूल जो है, ऑल ऑफ देम शुड, कि बच्चों को हमें पहले चुने यार, बिकॉज द बच्चों को सबसे पहले अगर हमारी पॉलिसीज रीटच करती हैं, सबसे पहले दे आर द वंस हु हैव टू टेक दीज थिंग्स फॉरवर्ड. It is not going to be us or other people who have crossed a certain age. These kids who have, because when I saw that statistics, I was like, उसको तुम plus minus 10% भी कर लो, the number of kids who are being left out is ridiculous. Like अब ये 7 महीने हो रहे हैं, people are saying February, March में खत्म हो जाएगा. That's 1 year of their life where they have been bereft of education. Now, if each of you as adults, if somebody takes 1 year of something out of your life, getting back into it, can you imagine? Imagine if you, हमारे में क्या जोक मारते हैं, एक्सरसाइज 1 साल के लिए नहीं किया. How hard it is to get back into it is something people say. Imagine a 10 या 11 education goes for a year. Your attitude itself towards it will be very different at that formation.
Confidence चले जाता है सारा, right? I mean, your confidence is shattered completely.
मैं confidence क्या होता है, interest बोलूँगा. Like you're a kid, right? You haven't done something for a year. You can't
You're
go to a
curious
classroom
as a
because
kid, no?
Yeah, and that's gone now, completely gone. And that reduces your employment chances. And I think, as Arnav was saying very correctly, वो ignorance जैसे हटेगा ना about a lot of things, तुम्हारी social issues immediately खत्म हो जाएगी. जैसे अभी तू रेप के बारे में बात कर रहा था. जब इंडिया में 73rd या 74th amendment आया था 93 में, जिसमें 33% पंचायत members had to be women. So how a man or anyone perceives a woman, if it's when you see them in power and see them as not as someone who's supposed to be beneath you on a fundamental level, then we can start the process of learning how to respect this person. Because हम इनको शुरुआत से ही इतने lower level में treat करते हैं, उनको सिर्फ domestic duties और एक inferior role में रखते हैं हमेशा. तो obviously people will then in the end come up with statements like वो रात को बाहर थी तो हमने ये कर लिया. That is what I believe. But I feel education is the most important beginning step for it. And then
definitely.
More women are educated. Understand this: the first people who lose out on schooling is women, not men.
Yeah.
सबसे पहले लड़कियों को घर में रखा जाता है. By the way, it's not लड़कों को घर में रखा जाता है पहले.
I mean, education has a lot of drop-down effects. It would affect. I think it definitely would affect rape if people were more educated.
Because our healthcare is obviously in a much worse space. Also,
healthcare.
majority of our normal small health clinics. Kevin, the stretch you go from Adur की तरफ तो आ जाएगा, and you will see a lot of the smaller health clinics where they are like strained thin, and that is still in southern states where there is more accountability for those things. Like they'll fall in trouble, but in as you start going upper other side of the Vindhyas, it's much terrible. Like क्योंकि है ही नहीं कोई accountability नहीं है ना. Like
Yeah.
how do you know कि your doctor shows up on time or not? कौन जाके check करने वाला है? इतने सारे लोग हैं.
Even I think the same thing applies to schools, right? कोई टीचर्स के लिए अकाउंटेबिलिटी नहीं है कि टीचर्स आते
नहीं.
हैं, क्या पढ़ाते हैं, वो
Exactly.
कितनी बार बच्चे क्लास में होते हैं. देयर इज नो अकाउंटेबिलिटी वहां पे. So I think अमृत ने इंटरेस्टिंग पॉइंट बोला कि एक्सेस टू इंटरनेट अगर बच्चों को मिल जाएगा, that's because I do believe internet can be a great equalizer, right? Because internet पे ठीक है, there's a negative side to it, which we have discussed in one of the podcast also. But if you think about it, if we have some sort of control, parental control या device, जो भी solution हो, right? It can literally equal the playing field for everyone. क्योंकि इंटरनेट पे इतनी सारी चीजें आज के टाइम पे रिगार्डलेस गवर्नमेंट का ऐप है या नहीं है, such a vast amount of material available इंटरनेट पे, regardless of which subject you want to study. चाहे आपका आर्ट्स, कॉमर्स हो, साइंस हो, कुछ भी हो, everything is available on internet. Sure, you need some sort of guidance, agreed, but at least it can, and also it can reduce the cost, because internet ka it can be a very very cheap access internet ka, right, as compared to books, because books you have to renew every year. Every year you go somewhere, आपको नई books लेना है, नया study material चाहिए, right?
And new editions
internet,
come out, or you have to get new updated.
Yeah, that's the beauty of internet, right? Once you have the infrastructure in place, everything is taken care of.
Yeah, and the beauty is the books are already there for free. Our country, our government, our present government has launched a solution for it. They have I tried the app on my own. It's a wonderful app. E-Pathshala करके app है. Like it's a wonderful app, यार. 3 clicks में, I mean, once you download it, you can get any book in a lot of languages. Like, and it, especially like English, Hindi वगैरह हमको तो essential है, वो तो cover हो जाएगा. But regional languages का भी option है, and that's amazing, I feel. So you guys might know the technical part of this, but doesn't YouTube have something like set aside for like kids or something?
Yeah, there's YouTube Kids.
YouTube
yeah,
Kids
if they-
Friendly
अगर-
content. Wait, what did Kevin say? I didn't hear.
No, but do you guys think that we should move on from a state, like as in a regional language-based education? Because one thing I noticed in my personal experience when I met a couple of like my house, she's going through this. The reason is after 12 there is no regional language education. Everything is in English. The people who, for example, who studied in Malayalam are going to struggle in college. They do struggle in college. They have to, every time they have to, teaching part of it will be in Malayalam, but all the books are in English. Exams are in English. There's no other way. So at some point we need to transition into first language being English and then regional language being second.
I think मेरा इसमें even exactly same thing I have seen in my family members, क्योंकि वो मुंबई में पढ़े थे, तो उन्होंने सब मराठी मीडियम से किया, and when they went to college they actually struggled, क्योंकि कॉलेज में सब कुछ इंग्लिश में था, right?
Yeah.
But मेरा इसमें I think slightly different take है कि first language should be your native language, जो भी आप community में रहते हो, regardless, right? And yeah, English should also be an option. English should be mandatory, but actually आपको material साला उसमें हो सकता है, which is completely fine, because I don't see any. Yeah, I agree that English is a global language, वो सब blah blah blah. But first, I think I was having a discussion with one of my friends यहाँ पे and my wife. They were saying, "Oh, we have to promote English. We have to promote English." But I think we have to go step by step, right? Forget about English अभी. India में basic jobs मिलना लोगों को मुश्किल है within their own community, right? So first we have to just educate them. The first step should be, भाई इनको educate करो. Yeah, I do agree. English is also important. We cannot deny that fact. So English should be mandatory to after maybe certain grade. That again, we are not experts too, but I think English should be mandatory. But I don't think we should move away from native languages. I think that's a very big factor in learning.
I completely disagree also.
I'm not saying moving away from.
Then I disagree as well, because
but native language is default. You think
He's saying
you're saying
that. Convert your mother tongue into English, and
see, you should not have to do that. See, I agree with you. You should not get rid of the language, but the fact is that you need to force people to transition, because we are becoming a global nation.
Kevin is just better equipped.
Most powerful. we are already thinking in the see if I grew up in Kerala, for example, I would first think in Malayalam and then I would be thinking in English. See, people are already that by default. So you need to transition in the other way. So what is the point? What are you trying to achieve by making that as first language? And you already know the child is already thinking in that way. What is the you're not getting? You're only making their life easier for that. Instead, start first language English. Gradually, the transition. So by the time they are in 12th, they will be well equipped to deal with college.
See,
Language has to grow through years. It doesn't happen like textbook आ गया अभी मेरे को English पढ़ना पड़ेगा उसके बाद मैं textbook content पढ़ूंगा. वो transition बहुत पहले होना चाहिए.
see, Kevin, I grew up in that state actually because my sister first learned Hindi and then she struggled a lot at school when she was young because she didn't know any English. So my mom said, okay, with my next child, he's going to first know English, then we'll see Hindi. So, and I still struggle with Hindi up till this date because I'm not very good. Like my sister can speak it very well and everything. Me, I still struggle. Like talking with you guys, it does my pronunciation, everything is off most of the time, even. So I've seen the other type of struggle.
But I disagree with that because I think native language पे like Kevin तुझे बोलना है तो बोल दे तू पहले.
नहीं मैंने ये ऐसे केस में नहीं बोल रहा कि इंग्लिश शुड बी परमानेंट. मैं बोल रहा हूँ कि जब तुम स्कूल आते हो तुम घर पे वैसे भी नेटिव लैंग्वेज पे ही बात कर रहे हो. You are more comfortable with the native language, but you need to be as comfortable that your native language. You should be as comfortable that in English. So that transition has to happen at some point. और वो होने नहीं वाला until force it upon someone. Because if by default, I've noticed it in my own people who I've interacted with. Because they're interacting at home in Malayalam, they struggle in school. They are not going to do that. Arnav, Amrit, very basic, I'll tell you. When they're writing a composition, they think in Malayalam and then they're converting. उसमें क्या होता है? Grammatical errors बहुत ज़्यादा होता है. तो तुम्हें पहला language should be English, and in Malayalam you already know. You need to be improving your grammar and your writing skills. That can happen as a second language also.
Kevin,
एक क्वेश्चन है इसमें.
हाँ भाई बोल.
तो केविन जो तू एग्जांपल दे रहा है इसमें जो भी रिलेटिव्स थे तेरे उन्होंने कभी इंग्लिश बिल्कुल पढ़ी नहीं थी और इंग्लिश वाज देयर वहां पे एंड दे वर स्टिल थिंकिंग लाइक दे वर स्टिल
they studied in government school.
तो वहाँ इंग्लिश होता ही नहीं है क्या बिल्कुल भी?
नहीं गवर्नमेंट स्कूल में तुम्हें ऑप्शन मिलता है. तुम्हें आइदर केरला बोर्ड में मलयालम बोर्ड में पढ़ सकते हो या यू कैन गो टू इंग्लिश बोर्ड. तुम दोनों ऑप्शन मिलता है. बट बहुत सारे लोग मेजॉरिटी इन विलेजेस जहाँ पे मेरे ancestral home है, everyone chooses Malayalam. There's a smaller percentage in the English category. And the problem is when they go to beyond the 12th, all of a sudden you get books in English. Your instructors are in English. So तभी they struggle.
But इसमें तो फिर families का problem है, right? Because they know that 12th के बाद English आने वाली है. Then it's a family. If they have the option, then they should pick as one of the optional languages at least, right?
But don't you think that English should just stay as a mandatory thing as well as your native language?
English is a second language.
मैं मेरा एग्जांपल देता हूँ. मैंने हमारा ठीक है इंग्लिश मीडियम स्कूल था, बट ना तो हमने कभी इंग्लिश में स्कूल में बात की है, ना घर में मैंने कभी इंग्लिश में बात की है. एंड या मेरी इंग्लिश को डेफिनेटली इट वाज नोवेयर क्लोज टू बीइंग परफेक्ट, राइट? वेरी फार फ्रॉम इट.
No, yeah, 100%, yeah.
So at least even जब मैं यूएस में आया, initially yeah, first few months it was a complete transition मेरे लिए. But because मैंने at least English सुन रखी थी, थोड़ी सी पढ़ रखी है, and it was always a वो. मैं ऐसा कुछ नहीं है कि again I'm not saying कि गांव में ऐसा होता है, but I think English मेरे को mandatory नहीं थी वहाँ पे, right? ना तो हम कभी टीचर से इंग्लिश में बात करते, rarely. ना हम फ्रेंड से इंग्लिश में बात करते थे, ना घर पे तो कोई सीन ही नहीं है, right? So and we still manage somehow. So I think another example is Kevin, China for example, right? China में अभी भी majority of Chinese, they in a way they do struggle initially with English language.
In my CS class, there was a guy with a dictionary in a hand, researching every word on a paper on a dictionary.
Because they are speaking 3 variations of Mandarin, Cantonese, and everything. Yeah. They are not worried about, because what Kevin has. No, unless you have something to add, Kevin. The problem is that people struggle with English, A, because of a class issue, and B, because our employment is based on the idea that we'll get better opportunities outside. My push for why I would say regional language, I'm not saying that you said that English regional language should be removed. I'm not assuming that's what you said
No.
at all. What I'm saying is regional language ka push should always be maintained because it is what makes us unique.
Yeah.
Okay, it is a very unique cultural identity which is lost when kids are anyways naturally transitioning to English is now thrown into every language that is there anyways. आपकी मराठी मूवी हो, बंगाली मूवी हो, मलयालम मूवी हो, उन सब में इतने इंग्लिश वर्ड्स यूज होते हैं कि इट्स ऑलरेडी अ वेरी ह्यूज पार्ट एंड व्हाई स्टेट बोर्ड के बच्चे जो तूने एग्जांपल यूज किया दे आर पार्ट ऑफ अ जनरेशन वेयर इंग्लिश एंड एक्सेस टू इंग्लिश हैज नॉट सीन थ्रू अगेन इट कम्स डाउन टू एजुकेशनल एक्सेस ऑफ द एंटायर सोसाइटी अगर आपके विलेज में सबके साथ फोन है एंड यू हैव एक्सेस टू मोर मीडिया व्हिच हैज इंग्लिश इन इट naturally you will become proficient in it or like become more accustomed to it. People who go for an IELTS or a TOEFL now and think in their regional language, it's because unfortunately they are part of a generation where English was not spoken widely around them. But Kevin, you have to remember this. हमारे country में while it may not be mandatory, a lot of schools push English a lot. Like it is a very blatant status symbol. It is thrown in many ways. Government schools में नहीं होता होगा, obviously, कम और lesser level पे है. And those people may struggle, but now naturally what is happening is English पे इतना push है that it's the regional languages that are taking a bigger push
Taken a back
behind,
seat, yeah.
which is I am a fervent person who believes very strongly that आपकी जहाँ पे भी जिस area में भी आप हो, first of all, if you're learning a language just because you want to become part of a global system, I think we are in a time where I have seen Japanese tourists who walk around this country with a phone app in their hand and talk to everyone without having
Yep.
any idea.
They just put it
वो
up
ऐसे
there.
वो translate पकड़ के ऐसे करते हैं. Like the beauty of technology is that we can be unique while using things to still get work done. Like there was this यहाँ पे beach area में आके they'll just ask, and you know obviously sometimes it may not be the safest and all of those things are there, but there is a chance of I personally find native languages to be a very beautiful way of maintaining a tribe and community's uniqueness, because one thing is there, while we are all Indian, we were built and carved out of very unique individual communities and tribes and sections. So while absolutely English should be part of it, I do not know. I do not know how much of it can be mandatory. I feel culturally we are shifting towards it anyways. We should not forget the knowledge and beauty that lies in our native stories, native texts, the oral traditions that exist inside each society. Like those are gems of wisdom, like healthcare ke techniques which are probably only available in your local native tongue, which can give you a lot of good, in my opinion. This is
No,
someone.
the two comparisons, what I did was, so when you take the Kerala side, what happened, the Malayalam version, all the subjects except for your second language English is going to be in Malayalam. That is maths, history, etc. Whereas when you take the English version, you get Malayalam as a second language, but all your other subjects will be instructed to you in English. Doesn't mean that you're going to forget about your native language.
Absolutely.
A good transition.
That's why I said that transition is good. Now there is their example ki inside also lies the fallacy of that. Even if they are all instructed in English medium and unko English ho gaya, a lot of the times the teachers themselves are never proficient enough in the language and switch to Malayalam. Even English board state government versions maybe, a lot of them end up being like very local language based. So, and which is more detrimental because if जो text है, अभी a lot of people are able to get through their class 12th का basic certification because it is being taught in that way. See, as while the policy can be good, it has to also it should also supplement the ground reality. When we have more higher educated teachers who are ready to go to these places and teach with those textbooks. Now imagine this, I'll give you an example. हमारे यहाँ पे इंग्लिश और हिंदी मीडियम हुआ करता था दिल्ली में. अब हिंदी मीडियम के बच्चों को इन्होंने सोचा एक दिन हम ट्रांजिशन कर लेते हैं इनटू इंग्लिश मीडियम, सबको इंग्लिश में पढ़ाओ, क्योंकि कुछ लोगों ने बोला कि अनफेयर है, हिंदी मीडियम के बच्चों को आप इंग्लिश की बुक्स में क्यों नहीं पढ़ा रहे, उनको आप वीक कर रहे हो. बट उनके जो टीचर्स थे उनका तो ट्रांजिशन नहीं हुआ ना, उनके टीचर्स को तब भी वही पुरानी भाषा में आता है. सो अब हिंदी मीडियम का टीचर इंग्लिश में सिखा रहा है जो उसको खुद इंग्लिश नहीं आती, तो सब फेल हो जाएंगे. तो like literally it was like a comedy show of कि like टीचर को भी नहीं आता और बच्चे को भी eventually पता लग गया कि यार इनको भी नहीं आता. तो like I don't think it go. It will be a
नहीं,
sequel.
you have to
It will be
start.
a, yeah. See, it has to be a gradual change. While if you make it mandatory in the current way, right now, see, culturally, something when it's happening at its own pace, I feel like it should be left alone. Is my opinion.
Yeah, it should be organic, right? English तो अपने आप आने ही वाली है,
Exactly.
regardless of native
Perfect word.
languages will take a back seat. But so if we say
they
कि
are
English
taking a
mandatory
back
है,
seat,
then
na?
yeah,
They're already taking a back seat. They are literally as far behind as possible. नए बच्चे जो अभी दुनिया में आ रहे हैं, मेरे बच्चे are going to know English first, even though मैं बेवकूफों की तरह हिंदी और मलयालम में बात कर रहा हूँ. It will be English that is introduced to them. I know it. Like और कोई option नहीं है. So but it also, I don't want that oral tradition of the native languages to be lost. That's why I feel so strongly कि like, well, I can see it happening. I see it in the way
It
अभी हम
also gives you, it also gives you the liberty to abuse me while your kids are around and they won't understand what Papa क्या बोल रहे हैं.
Anyway, on that note, let's move on to the next topic. We've had a very serious, semi-serious, because the beginning started very comical. Banning
yeah.
Republic
Thanks to you and Kevin.
and me, my ill research. But anyway, we're going to go on a much lighter topic. I was hoping you guys would talk about health so I can say cow urine solves anything, but I stopped Arnav from talking about health. But anyway, this second topic is Arnav's favorite thing to talk about. Is there any fictional tale, mythology, story that you'd like to be a part of or live in that world? And which character would you choose? So Arnav, since you like this topic so much,
Arnav's going to be Desperate Housewives.
Okay, I haven't seen that
Arnav
movie
said
or TV
Desperate
show.
Housewives.
it's
It
TV
just
show.
the sound sounds very interesting.
I have not seen
So,
it. I just know it about
can I
it.
pick a movie character?
Yeah, just the world you'd like to live in a movie or anything. Or
Okay,
even
I
a
don't know
character,
about the
yeah.
world, but yeah. So I think to go with character, मुझे नाम नहीं पता
Magic
character
Mike.
का, but from the
Magic Mike.
मैंने वो भी नहीं देखा
He's a male
unfortunately.
stripper.
Oh, ना मुझसे ना हो पाएगा भाई. But उस character का नाम मुझे नहीं पता, but
Mission Impossible.
movie Martian. No,
Oh, Martian.
Martian, right? Because I think उसमें एक very interesting angle was he started his life from zero. Like all the basic necessities on this planet are given to us, right? Oxygen, water, food, ये सब यहाँ पे we have all these things, right? So these are things which we get by default. We don't have to worry about it. We don't have to think about it in normal situations, right? Very basic thing as oxygen. But वहाँ पे, I think if you remember, he actually had to figure out how to grow plants. And can you imagine living in that? And so I think that because of the sheer challenge, I think that was very fascinating character.
So basically you're saying you'd like to be stranded on Mars for like, I don't know how many sols he was stranded on Mars for.
Yeah, in a way. Because I think वही ना जो मैंने बोला कि it's such a challenging environment to be in when nothing is.
This is his dream, is to be stranded on Mars in a fictional world. I was like,
no, because you have to start the life from zero.
No, I get it, but
like
that's the last thing I'd want. It's just the opposite of our thing. I would never want to be
Akash, that's why, because you don't want challenges in life. Arnav's a real man. He wants challenges.
Oh yeah, Amrit, when we come to you, we'll see your challenges in life. When you pick, we'll see.
Yeah, because imagine I mean, obviously ऐसा हुआ नहीं. We all know कि somehow life कैसे evolve हुई इस planet पे. But imagine you're the first person to be who has to start the whole new life on that planet. So that's such a. I know in real life it will be very fuck all, but if I have to imagine, nothing better than that for me.
I think Kevin's suggestion was good, man. Magic Mike Arnav, go for it and just.
नहीं Martian movie Martian. मुझे उस character का नाम नहीं पता.
I've the Matt Damon in it, right? I've never seen it.
Yeah, Matt Damon. Mark Watney is the name of the character. It's based on the book, The Martian.
What is that movie about? Oh, he just gets stranded there, that's it?
Yeah, they're on an expedition to Mars and he gets left behind by accident.
So उनको लगता है कि he died
Because of an
and
accident.
they had to leave, so they left वहाँ पे, and then later they find out कि अरे वो अभी भी है वहाँ पे.
And he's
It
surviving
takes
on
time
Mars.
to again go back वहाँ पे and blah blah blah. Right?
What space agency is this which forgets that people
Nasha.
are left behind?
Nasha. Nasha.
Nasha? Oh, Nasha थे.
Yeah, Nasha.
But yeah, that would be my answer.
वो स्वदेश का जोक सिर्फ पहली बार जब सुना था, it was funny. It makes me cringe after every single time when I hear that. Nasha.
Nasha. Okay, I'm tempted to hear Kevin's. Kevin?
भाई आवाज नहीं आ रही, म्यूट है तू भाई.
No,
Kevin,
I
you're
can
on
hear.
mute.
I can
Mute
hear.
है,
I can
Kevin.
hear. Kevin.
No, I said I want to be in the Amazonian land where Wonder
Girls.
Woman lives.
Wonder Woman lives. All the girls, all the strong girls
So
that
that's
Kevin will
the-
get his ass kicked.
Okay.
That's the fictional universe where. What do you think you
What
would
is
be?
the problem with strong
But
girls?
they
I
hate
don't have to
men
do
in that
lip
land. They hate
also,
men in
right?
that
This is
land.
perfect.
They hate men in that land. So you
Kevin,
won't survive.
you'll be livestock there. You know that, right? You'll be
Yeah.
livestock
They
in that
will
place.
kill you. They will treat you.
Like, I hope you know this fantasy of yours will not end well for you. I'm
कम
just
से
saying.
कम ये बोल रहा है you want to be like Wonder Woman, तो फिर भी समझ में आता. कि at least you
Then
have
I could
some
say,
status and
okay,
some
chalo,
power.
good.
Yeah.
Yeah, Kevin, next episode dress up like Wonder Woman to show your commitment.
Okay. Okay, no. My previous one was going to be I want to be in Wakanda and I'd like to be M'Baku, the mountain man.
Oh, okay. I was wondering कौन सा वाला है वो. अच्छा, okay.
That'll be cool.
Mountain Man is
is
very
that
nice.
the,
Black
They're the
Panther.
तूने
gorilla
sad कर
tribe,
दिया
no?
Kevin.
oh, they are
They're
the
that
tribe
gorilla
that is angry at him but comes to help him in the end or something, right?
Yeah, because they don't get the
Yeah.
technology from Wakanda. They don't have the same. They were cast out or something.
But Kevin, do you want to
Nice.
explain क्यों?
Yeah, use some reasoning more than
Yeah,
I want to
What?
be
Why
this.
cute?
they're
He's gonna
kicking
say it's
ass.
cool.
I mean, they don't have any of the technology, but they're making badass fighters.
Chalo. This is a very in-depth answer.
Kevin just showed कि he put all his research into the first question, then forgot. कि दो और सवाल है.
So for me, I was gonna say
I
Harry.
think first one is my pick.
First one is your pick.
Harry Potter.
Mine was gonna be Harry Potter, but then when I
First one
think
is
about it,
my
I'm like, Hogwarts is a terrible place, man.
Why is
Why?
Hogwarts terrible? Don't
It's
ruin
just-
my answer.
It's a school which has a deadly dog in the first movie, a forest that can kill the students, a psychopath that is obsessed with the school and just wants to kill one student all the time.
I feel like you are
And-
reading something from a Reddit post somewhere.
No, and a principal who puts his students in danger willingly. He's like, no, it's okay. Hogwarts is fine. Just throw the students.
But
in danger.
that's any
don't
school,
make-
भाई. In India,
don't
हर
make-
school वैसा ही होता है.
क्यों तुम्हारे
I did-
तुम्हारे तुम्हारे
you-
तुम्हारे तुम्हारे स्कूल में पागल कुत्ते नहीं थे क्या?
नहीं.
क्या
or killer vines or some killer chessboard that if you play, the chess pieces can kill you.
Oh.
Or-
हमारे
was
स्कूल में
fun.
अगर हमारे स्कूल में कोई भी चेस खेलता था तो चेस बोर्ड लेके लोग सर पे मारते थे उसके बाद.
So you're saying you don't need to go to Hogwarts because India is very similar to Hogwarts
Bhai,
school.
I wrote this question thinking only about Hogwarts. So.
Yeah, I knew it. I knew it. See, magic
that
would
has
be
been-
cool. So I would say even Lord of the Rings, if I said, I'm like, why would you live in a place infested with orcs?
You would never do Lord of the Rings because Lord of the Rings ka amount of physical activity you would get
Yeah,
bored and
I'd be
leave.
bored.
Like if
I'd be
somebody
like,
asks you
no,
to,
then I'd
if
live in
somebody
the Shire.
no, oh this guy
I'd
will
live
be
in the
like
Shire.
guy. Because imagine, he lives in a desert, but he's still like, he lives in the posh part of the desert. So
Yeah.
Akash will be the kind to like, I'll
No,
live with the
that's
elves,
fine.
okay? I'm
You
not
live
going
in the
on some
Shire.
trek.
No, elves also fight. The Shire, they don't do shit, man. They just sit there, smoke, eat, and sleep.
Ali, Lord of the Rings,
But-
did anyone not have to be part of the fight and survive the whole fight? You will be those
Yeah, the
people.
hobbits didn't. Only those 4 selected hobbits had to. But except in the book, when the skirving of the Shire, whatever, Saruman is alive and he takes over the Shire at the end.
Oh, he does?
Apart from
Oh,
that,
wow.
yeah. He does, in the movie, they killed him off. In the books, at the end, when Frodo goes back, they see that the Shire is
Not
under
kidding.
attack.
For a
But
very
that's a
long
different thing.
time, मेरे contacts में तुम तीनों का नाम Hobbit Amrit, Hobbit Akash, Hobbit Kevin था. Not kidding.
Because he heard that hobbits were
We
Alsi,
were
and then
pretty
he's like named
similar.
us all.
College में we were
Oh
pretty
yeah,
similar.
It
that
makes
makes
sense.
sense.
Makes sense.
नहीं, but I think interesting आकाश का जो answer था ना, वो game कौन सा था उसमें? I would be, I don't mind even playing that game if I can for one day. कौन सा game था यार वो Harry Potter में?
Quidditch.
Quidditch. Yeah.
Actually, no. Quidditch would be
There
cool.
was
be cool, yeah.
घर में झाड़ू है तेरे?
No, such a way. They play it, man. They actually play it. They run around in the field with the broomstick in between their legs.
Remember Purdue?
I joined
I was like,
the
"ये क्या
club.
कर रहे हैं?" They're like, "Oh my god!" I was like, "How are they playing?"
अबे I joined the Quidditch club at
ये देखो.
Purdue.
Were you
That's it.
the snitch, Amrit? Were you dressed up in gold and ran away from people?
No, then I saw how they play it because I thought it would be like we discuss, they talk and like it would be. When I realized that yeah, actual झाड़ू के ऊपर अंग्रेज ऊपर भाग रहे ऊपर नीचे मैंने कहा चलो देखो, I do. There are other ways for me to live through
It
the
is
sandwich.
funny to watch. I get it, man. You guys do people who enjoy Quidditch, but it is
भाई,
hilarious to watch. Man.
भाई पर उसमें वो था ना like the people who are fit enough to climb on top of the झाड़ू and walk around like उनके लिए it might be a nice cardio sport. There were
Yeah,
people who obviously should not get on top of a झाड़ू and try to move, who were just hurting their genitals by the end of it. Like तुम वो गिर रहे हो और तुम मार रहे हो अपने आप को पागलों की तरीके से. But that's I saw it
Maybe
happen.
उन्होंने L guard पहन रखा हुआ, क्या पता.
भाई नहीं वो हमारे
It's very
क्रिकेटर्स ही
intensive
पहनते हैं यहाँ पे.
but yeah, so
Okay, Amrit. Oh, sorry. Continue.
so I would say probably Harry Potter is out of the two Lord of the Rings and Harry Potter.
I'm also going to say I'm also only going to say Harry Potter because if that was the only fictional world, because I find the real world far more interesting. But since I was a kid, since I read that book as one of my first ever like fictional world experiences, I would like to be part of that world. Primarily, initially it was because of the entire Hogwarts thing, but just the concept of that of magic and how childlike everything is. I would like to also be in that Hogwarts world just to relive the only part of childhood I'd like to relive because I love being an adult so much more. I would like to go back and be in Hogwarts. And if I had to choose characters, I'd like to be in the Marauders ke time frame mein. If I have an option, I would like to be because I'd like to be someone not part of the Marauders but be in their time frame just to get to observe and probably like act against them. That is always something I like thinking of. But yeah, that's it.
So I got another question. So if you had to comic book, Kevin has said. So if you had to be in part of a comic book universe, which one would you be? Kevin has said Wakanda. You can't say Wakanda now because Wakanda everyone's going to pick. I feel. Which one would you be?
But Wakanda is part of the Marvel. Cinematic universe, right?
Yeah, anything comic. It can be DC, Marvel, anything. Which one would you pick? Would you pick Gotham? Gotham sounds like a shit place. I would never live there. Actually.
I would want
No,
to be
I
in the
don't
same
like
world as the
Aqua.
X-Men. I want to be in the X-Men wale world.
Oh,
Oh, interesting.
I like that
X-Men.
school
I was
wala
gonna say
idea.
Aquaman. Under the water.
no, Vishal,
यार
you
वो
can't
movie अच्छी है क्या?
swim
I've
properly
heard that
underwater. What will you
movie.
do underwater?
It's true. But in this mystical world, I'm a great swimmer. Okay.
Yeah, okay. Mine
Okay,
would
so
be probably Asgard.
no, the question is, you want to be Aquaman or you want to be someone in that world?
In that world, you can't be. You'll be watching the hero do his shit. You can't be the hero.
Yeah, that's
You'll
why
be
I want
normal
to
like
be.
अच्छा.
I want to be in X-Men's world. I like that.
X-Men's world. Will you be a mutant? Okay?
Yeah.
Yeah, I knew that. He won't be a bystander just watching the mutants. He'll be like, मुझे mutant बनना है.
I am already a bystander watching their movie.
Yeah.
उनकी world में जाके भी I choose to be. How lame life. Akash, see, you put your way of lazy thinking on us. I am no longer a hobbit, okay? Like, उनकी
You-
दुनिया में जाके I want to go
Amrit.
into X-Men's world and just observe them.
Amrit,
Please.
you are still a hobbit. Okay, you will not be like an Aragorn or something. You will be a hobbit.
People who are living life currently have noticed that I am far more active now than I ever was.
Okay, mine. See, I would not be in Gotham because Batman would. That would be a very depressing place.
मैं कितने आंसर देगा बे?
Mine would probably be. I'll be Spider-Man. You just see him. No, Asgard. Sorry, living as a god among
See,
gods.
doesn't Spider-Man leave a lot of waste wherever he goes? वो हर जगह हर बिल्डिंग अगर तुम एक नई बिल्डिंग बनाओ और उसके ऊपर कोई ये सुई
No,
धागे चढ़ा
it
के चले
dissolves
जाए.
after time. Okay, they thought about it in Marvel comics that the webbing dissolves after time. They've said it.
उन्होंने पता है वो किताबें ना ऐसे बेवड़ों के लिए लिखी है.
You pointed at Kevin on my screen when you said this.
I'm pointing at Akash. That's whichever.
Whichever. Okay, Arnav, you.
कर तो दिया मैंने आंसर. क्या क्वेश्चन
ठीक
क्या
है,
है?
leave it. No, I
मूवी
won't
के
ask. I'll leave it.
now he'll be like, but actually guys, इस वाली में क्या हुआ था? मैं शक्तिमान की दुनिया में जा सकता हूँ.
He'll say some other challenging things.
No.
मतलब Mars
नहीं,
पे
I would
रहना
have
है.
said शक्तिमान, but आकाश ने बोला कि तुम हीरो नहीं हो, so क्या फायदा शक्तिमान के वर्ल्ड में
Yeah,
जाके?
that's true.
It's a
No,
real
you
life.
become
Why would you
नहीं, you become one of those kids who goes, शक्तिमान बचाओ मुझे. I
जो
still
building
can't
से गिर
believe
जाता
that.
है.
I still can't believe शक्तिमान had to release an episode saying that देखिए बच्चों शक्तिमान can't be everywhere. Instead of saying guys I am fake, even देखिए बच्चों शक्तिमान हर जगह नहीं पहुंच सकते.
मुझे I know the answer, Akash. I'm pretty sure तुमने देखा नहीं होगा. There's a character called Flash. उस पे टीवी शो आया था. मैंने उसके कुछ एपिसोड्स देखे.
No, I watched
Obviously
Flash.
he knows. Obviously
Yeah, I
he
know
watched.
Flash.
What else do you think this bird is?
Okay, so I
Exactly.
think that was very fascinating for me. Huh?
Even
Flash
Kevin
की
watched
वो
Flash. Kevin laughed when there was a villain called Gorilla Grodd. He used to laugh his ass off that a gorilla is a villain in this thing. I was like, he's like, Kevin used to make an impression of it as well.
Yeah. Arnav, do you want to be Quicksilver?
वो कौन सा character है? I don't remember.
Kevin is trying to make a dirty joke. On this
Yeah,
thing.
Kevin, when you throw in some sexual innuendo, you should try to be less obvious about it, no?
No, but Arnav didn't get it, so it's fine. Arnav was like, what?
Yeah, I have no idea. मुझे honestly अभी भी नहीं पता. So
Let's just move on from Quicksilver after that.
And Akash, yours is like partial style.
Yes. Okay.
हम हर एपिसोड में बोलेंगे क्या ये?
Our episode. So the final topic will be it's trending worldwide. People are watching it non-stop. They can't get over it. The IPL.
मैंने एक मुश्किल से एक मैच देखा.
देखो, it's so bad, man. So bad. I want to know, what are your picks for the IPL playoffs? Who will become the
Delhi-
champion of the IPL? Who
Delhi-
will get
Delhi
their
का-
rings or fake
मैं
golden
जवाब दे रहा
trophy?
हूँ. मैं
Who will
जवाब
get
दे रहा हूँ. दिल्ली कैपिटल्स जीतने वाली है क्योंकि हमारा टाइम आ चुका है. If you ask me why, it's because I saw उनकी टीम में they're quite up on the board और धवन ने 2 मैच में सेंचुरी मारी थी continuously, तो दिल्ली कैपिटल्स जीतेगी.
The first player to do it in IPL.
Yes. हंसलो.
थोड़ा सा
Centuries
delay-
in a row.
थोड़ा सा लैग है अमृत के उसमें. अब वो टॉप से थर्ड पे आ चुके हैं अमृत, but they will still qualify, so they have a chance.
They'll still qualify. I'm surprised Punjab is in the top 4. Abey, we were last. How did we get to the top
Oh yeah,
4?
Punjab played brilliantly in last 5-6
Chris Gayle.
games. वो सारे जीते हैं. Yeah.
See,
Yeah.
it shows the power of the
That
West
was
Indies.
pretty impressive.
Gayle came, everyone started playing well. He just needed to do that. I remember when the West Indies won the T20, they were all doing that Gangnam style dance celebration. Chris
Yeah.
Gayle is in front doing the Gangnam.
ओए अर्नव कितने मैच होंगे? टोटल 14 मैच होते हैं ना इसमें?
14.
कितने? तो अभी as of recording Punjab and KKR are like very close by. दोनों 12 पॉइंट पे हैं.
Yep.
Punjab is
But
4th,
KKR
is
lost as
5th.
well yesterday
KKR
to Chennai.
KKR lost to Chennai, ना? जडेजा ने
Yeah,
काट
उसके
लिया
पास
उनका
updated है.
But Punjab is playing Rajasthan today, and Punjab should win if they continue their current
But
form.
apparently
But you
even
never
Rajasthan is not out अभी भी. हाँ, they might qualify based
They
on
have
net run
वही
rate.
है ना.
Yeah.
यार it would be interesting to see Stokes in a eliminator though.
Stokes is great.
And I have never appreciated a foreign player like so grudgingly as I have like over the like I can't believe like he just keeps doing fantastic stuff which is just weird. I saw that the only test match I've seen recently was उनका वो पहला वाला वो नहीं था Headingley वाला test match जो था इनका ऑस्ट्रेलिया के बीच में. And just to think he could win things that way.
Even World Cup final, right?
Even the World Cup, World Cup final, he saved them.
I wish हमारे पास ऐसा ऑलराउंडर होता. हमारा हार्दिक पांड्या ऐसा कुछ क्यों नहीं करता मुझे समझ नहीं आया. But
Hardik Pandya, surprisingly, is why RCB is on top.
Yeah, I was going to say RCB.
Oh, no,
Who
RCB
always
or
had the
Mumbai?
strongest team on paper. I feel
Mumbai is on top. RCB is second.
Okay.
Second. But
I think
surprisingly,
I
RCB
think
always had the
I-
strongest team on paper. I always felt because I mean, when you have Raj, Kohli, AB de Villiers, and they had Chris Gale at one point, all these
at one
अबे
point, yeah.
at one point, it was like all these amazing batsmen.
पर उनके
Chris-
शुरुआत में कभी बॉलिंग कभी नहीं थी उनके पास यार. They never had
They never had this very strong bowling, but they had a
didn't wait,
decent
वो याद
bowling.
है Arnav, didn't they have Dale Steyn in the beginning?
Yep.
Yeah,
पहले
He's
IPL
that was
still
much
there.
earlier.
वो
So then
अभी
उनकी
भी
टीम
है,
में
I think, but
प्रॉब्लम
now
क्या है? I
coach
don't think
है,
he
I think,
plays,
शायद.
right?
Yeah, he's a
Yeah,
coach.
yeah,
He's a
yeah.
coach.
His injury से he had to quit cricket. I knew that, but I don't know if
Yeah.
IPL खेलता है नहीं. De Villiers तो I
IPL
don't
में
think. My God, retire होने के
एक
बाद
अच्छा
भी ऐसा
IPL
खेल
का
रहा है.
फायदा हो गया है. फॉरेन प्लेयर्स को आफ्टर रिटायरमेंट एक एवेन्यू मिल चुका है टू अर्न मनी. सबने आके कोई ना कोई कोचिंग डिपार्टमेंट ले लिया है एंड दे आर जस्ट चिलिंग
Yeah.
नाउ. Ricky Ponting, Dale Steyn, you name it, everyone is there वहाँ पे. Even Indian
Jayawardene.
भाई cricketers के लिए अच्छा वो है, and having I think हमारे younger players who don't get a domestic players के लिए भी it's a good avenue to make money.
great avenue, yeah. And plus
Yeah,
I think
very
they
good.
get to work with all these experts, right, who have played
Exactly.
internationally for so long.
Would
Like
we
Delhi
have
में Ricky Ponting कैप वो है coach है, imagine.
like Australian team में legendary captain World Cup winner तुम्हें बता रहा है, and like someone like a Tewatia gets to play under Steve Smith and Ben Stokes.
Steve Smith.
Like, can you imagine that?
It's great
Like,
experience for these youngsters, man. The youngsters are amazing.
world's best all-rounder, World Cup champion and sandpaper. So my God, like इससे अच्छा तुम्हें exposure क्या मिल सकता है सब continuously उसमें.
Sandpaper. I was like sandpaper. But who is going to win the whole thing?
Steve
Amrit has
Smith is
said,
a good captain, but I think I can never forget like sandpaper ever. But yeah, anyways.
why and other people start biting the ball.
Oh, वो clip देखा? Kohli nearly spits on the ball, nearly applies saliva in the ball and just stops half an inch away from the ball. और कैमरा वाले वेले हैं, कुछ भी करते घूर रहे होते हैं.
अरे बट पहले तो वहाँ पे cheerleaders ही उन पे फोकस करते थे, वो भी नहीं है, ऑडियंस
Yeah,
भी
yeah.
नहीं
Now
है,
they're not there.
सिर्फ प्लेयर्स पे फोकस कर रहे हैं बेचारे.
One thing I hate though now, like every shot, there's a crowd noise, like, ah, and then it's like going for one. It's like,
Yeah,
it's
I
like, man,
No,
you're
that's not
misleading.
the thing. They have all these social distancing ad ना, देखिए 2 गज की दूरी में 2 गज. हिंदी कमेंट्री, I don't know तुम हिंदी कमेंट्री नहीं सुनते होगे, but हिंदी कमेंट्री में वो बोलते हैं देखिए 2 गज की दूरी रखनी चाहिए, and अगले सेकंड दिखा रहे प्लेयर सारे इतने चुपक के बैठे हैं वहाँ पे. And it's like that's like a obvious उल्टा मैसेज दे रहे हो तुम to your audience. But yeah, हाँ तू बात कर रहा था who's going to win. Why
So
don't you
who's
give your
going to
opinion?
win? Amrit has given his answer. Arnav, since you're the person who's watched most of the matches, you can give a
All the
well-informed.
There is no well-informed man. Sports. जिसका दिन है वो जीत जाएगा. But I would.
I'm asking you to be like a Skip Bayless or a Stephen A. Smith or a whatever, man. Be something.
Australia.
Yeah.
आकाश, कम से कम आकाश चोपड़ा बोल देता. तूने NBA का रेफरेंस दे दिया क्रिकेट के इसमें.
No, they
Akash
cover all
Chopra is
sports apart
king.
from cricket. Those two cover all sports apart from cricket, so it's fine.
Oh, is it? I thought they were only on NBA.
No, they cover everything.
नहीं बे.
Oh.
They even cover football. It's funny because they don't know, like soccer, they don't know shit about it, but they cover it.
I don't think they know shit about basketball as well.
My favorite was that Brazil lost 7-1 or something. They were like, this, I didn't imagine this.
Yeah. When Colombia was playing good, I need me some James Rodriguez, man. I'm like, you shut up, man. You don't know shit. Why are you talking about?
They should literally just throw in LeBron into every topic because LeBron ne, after that.
But is he
James
clutch?
Rodriguez
Is he clutch? I'm like, what clutch? There's no clutch.
Bhai, did you see yesterday or something? क्योंकि मेरे clips में आ जाता है हमेशा recommendations में. वो he's like LeBron ने game 2 of Western Conference Finals में Rondo ने बोला कि I matched eyes with LeBron and LeBron didn't move, so I gave it to AD and AD hit the shot. So essentially, what does it mean? LeBron did not want anything to do with the final shot. Like I was like, भाई वो जीत गए. वो 2-3 हफ्ते पहले जीत गए. तू Western Conference Finals की बात कर रहे हैं अभी. वो भी game 2. वो the match they won also तू उस पे जा रहा है वापस कहने के लिए कि हाँ देखा he was not.
But I'll give. They do what they mean to do. They mean to create entertaining content where they talk about rubbish.
I know, but I was like, bhai, wow. If they had lost, it's one thing.
Yeah, they won, and you're still back. Like that Skip Bayless hates LeBron. Something has happened with him and LeBron that he just hates LeBron.
No. I'll tell you literally also. He knows पैसे कैसे मिलेंगे. उसके बारे में बात करके मिलेंगे.
Yeah. Anyway, cricket. Arnav, pick.
मेरा pick would be RCB this year.
I was also going to say. but I'm going to pick Punjab because Punjab always gets close to the win and loses.
Yeah, if you were going to say
So
you're
it's their
Punjabi, I
time.
was going to laugh.
It's their time. No, it's their time right now. I knew not to
I'm
say that
gonna
because
say
I knew you would
Punjab
say
as
something,
well.
but it's their
I'm
time
gonna
right
say
now.
Punjab.
One
Yeah,
interesting
see,
thing
Kevin
happened.
also knows.
Kevin,
KL
you
Rahul
have
is
to say
vice
something
captain
else.
of India.
Basically,
I'll give
Really?
the question Tusker.
What? I know Sharma got. No, yeah, देखो. I know Sharma got injured, but then he's not playing. Is that why he's vice captain?
Yeah, obviously.
Okay,
obviously,
then it makes
bhai,
sense.
Rohit Sharma has a lot of pull in this team after Kohli.
Yeah,
So.
exactly.
But still, I mean, great right? Achievement, vice captain of Indian cricket team. So
hmm Kevin, what you picked Kochi
Because
Tuskers?
lose
It's a
weight,
good pick,
man.
but they're not in the IPL.
Become fat.
Become fat. Okay, anyway. Kevin, who's your pick? Punjab, na?
Yeah, you can't say any of the teams we said. So say
I
some
said
other team.
Punjab.
Hey, you
Oh, what?
Amrit just said.
Okay, Mumbai Indians. Chalo.
He's like,
I
chalo
said
khatam
Mumbai
karo,
Indians.
Mumbai Indians.
Hey, Kevin, that's not a bad. You guys are number one right now. You know that, right?
But they
Kevin,
lost Rohit
nahi,
Sharma.
Yeah, but
not because they are number one, because they have Ambani. Good pick, Kevin. I like it.
है ना?
I feel bad when
जियो
I
का
see the
brand तो थोड़ा
jerseys.
promote होना चाहिए.
When I see the jerseys, I'm like, Ambani is the only one who's got pretty good sponsors. Everyone's got like some rubbish sponsor. Like they've got Samsung, Marriott.
all the owners combined, all the other owners combined are
Oh
not
yeah.
1/10
No.
of his net worth. So
But then
don't
I
think.
get
There's
happy
a
when I see that tacky gold thing on their thing. I'm like, this looks bakwas. It's gold.
there's an interesting thing अभी controversy चल रही है because after अभी IPL के time पे they picked the team for Australian tour, right? So there's a guy named Sukumar Yadav or Sukumar something, I forgot his full name. वो मुंबई इंडियंस के लिए खेलता है. He
Surya
was
Kumar
not
Yadav, I
picked.
think.
Surya Kumar Yadav, yeah, thanks. And I think so. He was not picked, and instead of him, like Manish Pandey and Shubman Gill, they were picked. So it will be, but we should, I think, in one of the podcast ka topics, we should discuss the sports ka selection. That would be a very interesting take. Not
Talking
necessarily
about
cricket in
next
general.
week.
Yeah.
Talking about next week, we'll end the podcast here today. But one thing we have to do is recommendations. Kevin, you remembered your recommendation this
I haven't
time.
watched anything new. I haven't watched anything.
Amrit, your idea is dying in this show.
I have my
I have
weekly
mine as well.
recommendation ready. Yeah.
Arnav, you can piggy bank on mine if you want. So mine is going to be the book Shoe Dog. That's it's a book I really like. It's about the Phil Knight, the owner of Nike, how he made Nike, how he made it from Blue
Founder of
Ribbon
Nike.
to founder of Nike, how he made it to this huge sports empire kind of thing. Everyone knows the brand, how he grew it and everything. It's a very good read. He's been through quite a weird journey, like crazy journey. And
Crazy, yeah.
it is really good book. It's a really good book. You guys should read it definitely.
Shoe Dog.
Shoe Dog.
Shoe Dog,
It's a
yeah.
very good book.
Okay.
It's not even a big book. It's a small book, and it's good. It's really well written as well. I don't know what else to say.
I saw Akash do this with
Was
his
it like
hands.
an
Akash
Was it
made a
like an
snake
app?
like.
What do you mean abs?
Akash made a snake like gesture. That's what I saw. Like I was like, "Acha, isme aisa." But like my Akash, do you want to add anything to it?
No, mine's done. It is done.
Mine is also a book like which I was recommended this week, which I finished. I think how much have I finished? I have finished like 1/3 of it right now. It's Natural Born Heroes by Christopher McDougall, which goes into how the premise is essentially just this. World War II की height में 1941 पे the British sneak away German general right from one of their heavily fortified bases in Crete, which is an island based off Greece, and in one of those Greek islands, it shows you how these people are naturally in their lifestyle is so much more heroic and why it's so much more different, and it goes into a lot of. It's a very inspirational book from the aspect of ki it isn't really hard to be physically fit or like surviving on lesser amount of food as we are like we're conditioned to consume a lot of sugar based meals out of just our habits of the people around us. Caloric intake and all of those things mean a lot, and this very unique group of people who live off the coast of these Greek islands, and their entire lifestyle and how fit they are and how their acts, even in emergency situations, may that heroic aspect of it is so natural to them. Like, okay, I'm in trouble right now. I'm going to do the right thing, and this is how I'm going to do it. Like they were under attack by the Nazis, and they had nothing compared to resources, armor, arms, anything. But how this group of people are just inherently different, and they've used their heroic culture for so many years. It's a very good read. It's the book's name is Natural Born Heroes by Christopher McDougall.
Okay,
Nice.
since the other two do not have any recommendations, we
Oh,
shall.
मेरा है कि
Oh,
बच्चों मास्क पहनो, डिस्टेंस बना के रखो, and wash your hands.
Arnav,
You
you are the
just
only one who would laugh at it.
Yes.
अरे it's a great recommendation.
But Arnav has
सबसे
given my
best है.
ending basically when I say wash your hands. Thank you, Arnav. I don't need to say that now. You've heard Arnav say it, so it's fine. Kevin, we'll come back to your recommendation in the next episode because unfortunately we've run out of time. I'm making an excuse here, so Kevin doesn't need to give it because he hasn't got any recommendation. Anyway, guys, thanks for listening to the Vele podcast. You can catch us on the usual Google Podcast, Apple Podcast, Spotify, and YouTube, where we've uploaded actually an Among Us special episode of the Among Us playthrough.
Two episodes.
2 episodes of Among Us. You can catch us. We play with our college friends. It's like a college reunion. And we made some pretty funny content with that. So give it a watch on YouTube. Just search Vele Podcast and you'll find it. And that is all for today's episode. See you guys on the next time. On the next episode. What on the next time?
Don't watch
Next episode.
Be safe
Bye.
and ignore how awkward Akash is.
Yeah, ignore my awkwardness. Bye-bye.